What is cracking, everybody? You're back with Mr. Berger. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at the current top meta Electro Dragon deck. Now, I didn't take the time to actually unlock this guy in the challenge, so I was only able to play him in the recent kind of casual challenge that was released for a few days, and by the time that you're seeing this video, that challenge will have long been over. So just keep in mind that these matches were played in a casual challenge. They're not super high stakes. They're not against necessarily the best enemies. Regardless, it was an opportunity for me to share a really awesome Electro Dragon deck with you guys. And this is currently the top meta Electro Dragon deck. When I was looking online on Royale API, as I likely do, because that's kind of my favorite site right now, versus, like Deck Shop or Stats Royale to get decks from, this was the deck that was the most popular, I believe, in the current meta, in the last few days or so. So it's kind of a P.E.K.K.A control deck. It's reminiscent of somewhat of a bridge spam deck. You can see in there that we have the Dart Goblin as well, and the Dart Goblin was recently buffed. So you have the Goblin Gang and the Dart Goblin, which gives you a minor element of kind of log bait, as well as, I guess you could argue that the Battle Ram gives you an element of log bait too. But either way, it's very much like a control counterpush deck. Now, the EDRAG is an interesting card. You gotta be careful not to accidentally activate your opponent's King Tower with it, because they can put something like, just a support card or a, like an elixir collector in between the Princess Tower and the King Tower, and that'll allow it to chain lightning into their King Tower and activate it, kind of like they tornadoed something into their King Tower rather, which is a negative thing for you for the rest of the game. It provides a bunch of extra defense for them throughout the rest of the game. So do be wary of that. If you send him in alone, there's the potential for that. It's less likely if you're sending him in with a group and you're caught in the fray. One thing that you notice here is I got the lightning. I want to point out more things in the specific matches, the decision making rather than the overall deck, because I don't have as much of a huge outline setup for this deck that I normally do. So you can see that the lightning there was used to counter the elixir collector, and that's just an awesome tip if you're a beginner player or you're not too familiar with lightning or elixir collectors. You always want to shut down these elixir collectors as much as you can. Pretty much any spell is going to be like an equal or positive trade if you can use it on the collector and get some damage off onto their tower as well. So lightning will always 100% completely shut down their elixir collector if you guys are playing at tournament standard level. If their elixir collector significantly outlevels your lightning, then that's a different story, but in that case you should probably be running something like Fireball instead. Alright, so we got the P.E.K.K.A in there, and anytime that you have a P.E.K.K.A, nowadays P.E.K.K.A is used as kind of like a control card, a defense card. So when you see her in a deck, it's kind of going to be a control deck in most scenarios, not always. So she isn't really used as kind of a big beatdown tank. You don't usually put her in the back. You generally are going to be placing her on defense and then using her to counter push. And she naturally does really well against things like golems, because she costs 7 elixir, so she's super expensive, but she's super tanky. She's got a lot of health, so she survives for a long time, and she does a whole ton of damage. She just hits so hard. So something like a golem, which probably has the highest health pool of any unit in the entire game, she just absolutely tears through it. So that works out pretty well. You got the EDRAG to support her as well. It has that stun roll, and or the stun effect, which plays the role of supporting your heavy units, because if they have something like an Inferno Dragon or an Inferno Tower, or maybe even like a Sparky, the Electro Dragon will always be stunning it, and that will provide support for your P.E.K.K.A, because something like an Inferno Dragon is going to be a natural counter for the P.E.K.K.A. You're going to see Inferno Dragons, Inferno Towers and stuff in a lot of decks. Maybe not so much in this particular challenge, but generally you're going to be seeing it a lot. So you can see here that he sent my P.E.K.K.A in to try to counter, or excuse me, he sent the Golem in to try to counter my P.E.K.K.A and kite it into the opposite lane. And that does a good job of kiting her over and destroying her, and then he's got a Golem destroying my tower. But on top of all of that, now we've got his left tower down because I was able to send in a Battle Ram, and since he invested the 8 elixir into that Golem, he wasn't really able to successfully defend against that Battle Ram. The Battle Ram connects there. So you can see you've got to make those decisions on when to invest that elixir. You do have a Battle Ram, you do have a Bandit, and then you've also got Dart Goblin, which is kind of aggressive too. So with those cards, it's slightly reminiscent of a bridge spam deck. So you use things like the P.E.K.K.A and the EDRAG, you know, more defensive cards. Then you can use things like the Bandit and the Battle Ram more offensively and kind of turn it into an aggressive counterpush style kind of deck. Now don't get me wrong, the Bandit is also an awesome defensive card. You can use her defensively. She only costs 3. She's great to cycle in the back. And she absolutely wrecks most support cards like Ice Wizards, Musketeers, Wizards, so on and so forth, because she can charge into them, generally mitigate like their first shot. Like, it's so funny using her on defense and watching her just tear through a wizard because his fireball does nothing to her. You know, she dashes like right as the first fireball is about to hit, and then she just blows him up, and you can't do much about it. And that's a 5-for-3 trade, and then she generally lives through that and is able to provide that aggressive counter push. And on top of that, she dashes through, and then she'll dash to another unit. So she's just a great card in this deck because she can be used defensively and is a very strong threat on offense as well. You put the Battle Ram in front of her on top of that, man, they gotta answer that or their tower is as good as gone. Alright guys, this match is kind of against an off-meta hog deck, so let's see what I do here. For opening moves, I would generally use the Goblin Gang split in the back. I would use a Dart Goblin if I have to, but that's not going to be my first choice. My most ideal choice would probably be the Bandit, like I did there. She's pretty safe to use, she's tanky, she provides good defense, and provides threat on offense if she manages to get all the way across the arena, so they'll have to answer it, or answer her rather. So she's a good opener. You don't want to use something like a Battle Ram at the bridge aggressively unless they do something like maybe Golem as an opener. Then you could probably Battle Ram at the bridge in the opposite lane or something, because it's a little bit safer, and that'll provide a lot of threat that they will have to answer. Because if a Battle Ram connects to a tower, even alone, I think it takes out the tower. I'm not 100%, don't quote me on that. If it doesn't take it out, it does a ton of damage to it. And you can see here that the P.E.K.K.A was able to destroy that tower because he didn't answer it successfully. And even though he had all those skeletons from the Witch, the P.E.K.K.A just absolutely wrecks the tower if it does connect. But don't rely on her, don't use her as a win condition, because she's not super reliable as a win condition. She's, again, going to be a defensive card that has that potential to provide counter push. So let's see what I got here. At this point, you can see that I just need to kind of either play defense or distract him long enough to wait out the match, because I've already got the one tower down, and that was pretty easy with the P.E.K.K.A there. I'm not too sure why this guy's giving me the laughs all the time, but hey, that's alright. Everybody's strange in their own way, and maybe he's just having trouble coming to terms with his tower being lost, or maybe he's trying to get into my head and being like, oh yeah, this is funny that I lost my tower, and it's, you know, making me like throw me off my game, you know, and a lot of people do that. This is, I know it sounds silly and I'm not doing the best job of describing it here, but this is a legit strategy, and that's how people use emotes and things like that, is they'll try to throw their opponent off of their game or make them think one way and then, you know, kind of surprise them. Like I was watching in my recent video about the Goblin Barrel Mirror Clone Troll deck, I was watching the guy who invented that deck. It's Matataki, and he has a YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out yet, I will definitely be sure to link that in a card or in the description below, and I linked it in my last video as well, or the video about that deck. Anyway, you can see in his deck, in his videos, that he'll do things like in one match, his opponent took out his tower, and then he started being like, oh, good game, oh, you know, well played, and giving him the thumbs up and the emotes and stuff. Then he throws the Goblin Barrel at the opponent's King Tower, so the opponent thinks he's throwing the game, and the opponent just puts his Golem down aggressively towards Matataki's Princess Tower, or King Tower rather, trying to take it out, not realizing that he just sent in 2 Goblin Barrels, and then cloned them, and then all of a sudden that aggressive Golem was for naught, because his King Tower is just dead. And what I'm saying is, using those emotes, right, he was able to get into the head of his opponent, making him think that he gave up and he's just given away the game, and he throws the Goblin Barrel at him, and okay, he gives up, right? No, he's actually using his crazy strategy where he throws 2 Goblin Barrels at once, hides them together, clones them, and then the King Tower is just absolutely gone. So maybe that's what this guy was trying to do there. He was trying to throw me off of my game with all the laughs. Who knows? Alright guys, that is it. Make sure to leave the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to do so, because I put out videos like this all the time where I cover a bunch of different decks and balance changes and all kinds of cool stuff like that. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'll be sure to get back to you. I love hearing from you guys and hearing what you have to say, even if you just want to say hi. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and Have a good night.
I need more bass.